cancer,
measles, diabetes, AIDS, cancer.
Good evening once again. Welcome to our live Doctor and Call program for this evening, the final day of May 2022. I promised you we will be talking health insurance this evening, and yes, we are. Very, very important. In fact, coming from our forum some weeks ago, we did promise that all our panelists will be back, and so far, quite a number of them have been here already. And this evening, Mr. Kennie John from Antillean Life Insurance is with us. He was one of the presenters on the forum, and he's here this evening, and we will be going into some more details about health insurance. Of course, we will look back at what health insurance is and the importance of health insurance. Yes, very, very, very important. So let's welcome Mr. John. Kenny, good evening, and welcome to Doctor and Call.
Good evening, Godfrey, and to all your viewers and listeners, pleasant good night.
Yes, indeed, it's a pleasure to have you on the program. I'm very excited to have you here, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you about the importance of health insurance. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, I would call it, about health insurance and how all of these things work, and I'm sure you will be able to shed some light on how serious people need to take this. So let's start from the beginning. Health insurance. What is that?
What is it? Health insurance, the basis of it, the fundamentals of it is like any other insurance type or category. It comes from a pool where many put in, some make claims as a result of an incident, accident, etc. The fundamentals of health insurance in this part of the world is somewhat of a subdued, not as developed. Mm-hmm. We have a very low penetration in the first instance,
right?
And therefore, once there's a low penetration, and I'm not talking about just health insurance, but in Grenada and the Eastern Caribbean in general, we have a low insurance penetration in most things. Mm-hmm. Most of us simply insure our cars because the government say you have to. Right? And there's a mandatory third-party liability insurance. Most of the vehicles that are insured in the country are third-party. So people tend not to go beyond that. Mm-hmm. In times of strife, the first thing that goes is insurance. And health insurance is no exception. Mm-hmm. Yes? Be it house or anything, that's what people tend to do. What is important is to understand the architecture of health insurance. But let's go back a bit. Where does health insurance come from? How does a product that is health insurance, that offers health insurance, come from? Mm-hmm. First of all, as I mentioned in the forum, it's usually actuaries who develop such a program. The input of a company would be nuances where they believe in a competitive market they may be able to have an edge, mm-hmm. In terms of some of the benefits that product requires. What is important to note that no company's health insurance product is the same, because we don't know the basis on mm-hmm. which the company has decided to put this product in place.
Right.
So we can't sweep it with one brush. Some may say, well, I only pay in this, while another one is saying, well, mine is so much. Mm-hmm. The important thing is what is in your policy document. Right. And that again is a fundamental issue that we have throughout insurance in our part of the world. I think I told you this and refer to it and jokingly and say we know how our broom sweeping yes, better than what we have tied up in security, and mm-hmm. so on. No different for health insurance. So to sit and compare for you, it would be impossible for me to do, and I wouldn't try. I will be able to tell you some of the things in terms of the structure of it. Most what we have in this part of the world have what you call a base plan and a major med. Those are the two components. The base part of it deals with everyday occurrences, and major med is exactly what it is. You have a severe incident, yes, which then kicks it into effect. So from the very beginning. So it's not something where I go to the doctor and I have a prescription or whatever, and my base plan says $50, but the doctor charged me $75. It doesn't automatically go over to the major med because you are not experiencing a major medical event. Yes? It is at that time what it is that is charged, and the benefits that are laid down and set down in your particular plan. Yes? Can I say with hand on heart that every plan suits the needs of everyone? I can't see that. Yes? I can only at this point give you some knowledge about what it is it contains and how you should look at it.
Right. So let's start with the base plan, and I think people's general idea or feeling of health insurance is, okay, I feel sick, or for that matter, let's go back. I work with a company. There is a health insurance plan, and X amount of dollars are deducted from my salary that goes to to that health insurance, and of course my company pays some. So I am paying for health insurance. And so you get up in the morning, you don't feel well, you probably have a headache, or you get a pain somewhere in your back or in your waist or something like that. You go to the doctor. The doctor says, oh, probably, hey, man, you have a bruised muscle and you need to rest, you need to get some medication, and all of that. And of course, you get your prescription for your painkillers or your maybe some antibiotics to prevent infection or whatever it is happen, and yes, you pay the doctor, but at the back of your mind, I have health insurance, so I'm getting back my money. Let's talk around that, because I think that is the general feeling, and whether or not it is a good idea for, well, every time someone feels sick and they have to go to the doctor or they have to pay for some medication, then this is why I'm paying health insurance. Okay,
so let's look again, fundamentals. When you apply, so it doesn't matter if it's in a group or an individual, there's an application that has to go in for your health insurance. You have to know that health insurance, the cost of it to you, whether it's one that is participatory or not, is dependent on, one, your general health condition, your age, and 3, and most importantly, your usage. Yes? So those 3 things would constitute what is the amount that you would pay for your insurance on an annual basis. If we go back a bit, health insurance is an annual product. So it is designed at the end of every year to be underwritten, just as you did it, just as what happened when you applied for it. Every year, your situation is looked at.
Right.
Here's what we have to do. As we get older, our health conditions deteriorates.
Yes.
A basic underwriting guide, yes, in health insurance, is that your premiums will go up as you get older. Yes. Some would say, why? Well, I didn't create the science. That is the science behind it, and it's about probability, frequency, and severity. When you're young, you are leaping and bounding. Godfrey, you would know that. You would, right, and you don't feel one pain. You can't try that. You do now. So the condition of the body deteriorates, which is a natural phenomenon, and therefore recognizing that, the frequency to which you will use your insurance, it's determined through probability that it is more. And the ailments that you would have will be more. and also they'll be more acute, which talks about the severity.
Right.
And so if we take that approach from its basic concept, then understand going forward how to use it. We have, based on what the question, well, not question, but statement you made, the first thing in on our mind is that I will get back my money.
Yes.
Let's put it in context. Whose body is it? So we have to start on the premise and understand that we have to take care of ourselves.
Yes.
And what health insurance mitigates against is financial ruin. Just like most insurance, it's against financial ruin. It is, however, a contributory scenario. Yes? Not in the payment of the premiums for it, but even in the benefit. Yes? So many schemes, some may have a what you call a deductible, which may be annual. They may also have a copay factor for each ailment. Yes? Each time you visit and you are claiming, along with other various restrictions on it. Let's take, for example, health and vision. Those are particular things that you can pull out. Not every policy has a health and vision. Some could have one, some could have none. In that, it limits you to perhaps one checkup a year. I say perhaps because remember, there is no blueprint on it must be one or two or anything like that. It is what the company deems to put out there as a product.
Right.
Right? So if you have a situation where you can claim for a glasses maybe every year and a half, every 2 years, it is possible for a product to be like that 3 years or every year. Yes? Dental, it may allow you to actually have a dental checkup once a year as routine. But those are things that are written into the policy, that specific policy. And it may also tell you what is allocated to that general checkup or that, right? So, again, most important, every product, every policy is different. Yes? So it goes back now to the individual. How do I use my policy? If you go to the doctor and buy on doctor's prescription over-the-counter drugs, generally insurance, health insurance products do not pay for that, because it's almost like self-medicating. You could go to the store and buy it. Yes, what they're interested in is in prescription items that are not accessible, because this is the ingredient that will get you better from your ailment, more so than the sweetie, the lozenge, the water, which would be part of your prescription, which makes you keep hydrated.
Yes.
Yes. They might even suggest juice, orange juice, or we have our own home remedies. So the peculiarities of health insurance, in terms of its administration and its structure, it's a very complicated one and can be very complicated. However, we have to know what we buy. And so the most important thing is that ask the questions as a buyer. If you are getting a benefit through your company, a company may not necessarily be able to pay for a policy that give you the moon, the stars, and the earth. Yes? Because it means that there's a threshold and there's a budget allocation for that, because it's a benefit. Say, okay, I'll pay half and you pay half. You have to find out what that is. You can't fault the company for trying to bring a benefit there, but it may not be what you want.
Okay.
So I think most people have the option to opt out and say, look, I will get my own because I don't think this meets my own. However, in most cases, you find that good coverage, especially in the bigger countries, and this is where I get a little frustrated with my people and don't understand what benefit it is that the more people have it, Yes, it's perhaps the more that could be offered. So when you have a small pool, you can't expect,
That's right.
that although the concept and this construct of an insurance company and the law requires us to have certain mitigating, positions as reinsurers, but that is to take care of the major medical aspects. Now, if you don't have a major medical for the year, but 70% of the premium you collect is spent on 1111 because everybody, if I go 6 times for 6 different things, I'm going there and claim and so on. The fund might be in problems.
Right.
Because of the usage. So attitude. What's done in the bigger countries? People do not go to the insurance company for every little
thing,
ailment, every little thing. They'll go to the store. I have a common cold. That is not something that they generally would claim back for.
Right.
I have a cold. Yes, a common cold. We haven't found a cure for that yet, and there will always be common colds. Yes. They would save it for something if something major happens. Yes. Because they understand that when I claim frequently, my premiums will go up.
Right. Now, I want to ask you this because I think, I listening to you, it's been crossing my mind. Generally, so you have a health insurance and you contribute to that insurance. Generally, you may find someone paying maybe about $100 and something, per month, and maybe the company you work for will be contributing the rest. So let's say, putting it, let's say $300 in total that you're paying towards your monthly in health insurance.
Godfrey in Grenada, that's a big premium for some people.
Well, yes, I understand that, and yeah, I know that.
But let's use the example.
Yes, but the point I'm making is, if you consider that that amount you're paying for premium, but then you parallel this with what it might cost you, let's say in medical bills, are you really fairly, and help me out here because you're the expert in that, is someone fairly paying what they really should for health insurance coverage? And I'm speaking here as compared to what you may get back.
Well, that is always one of the age-old concepts, debates between. I like to use my banker friends as an example, because insurers and bankers, they are both financial industries, and people don't understand how large the insurance business is in the world. They rival banks in every way possible. Let's use, for example, Ivan. If you were paying your premiums for about 10 years, and most people say, yes, I'm paying every year, but I ain't getting clean. In Ivan, the money you actually got back for the damages you sustained, if you take your premiums and add that up, you would find that you should be paying an insurance if there was equity, and if you want to look at it that way. You probably should have been paid much more.
Well, and this is
and that is the concept, really. And that's the concept that I think people have to get in their heads, that the fact of what you're actually paying to what you can claim,
it's incomparable. So here's my other question. How does the insurance company generate that kind of revenue? And you made reference to Hurricane Ivan, where people get, lots of damage. How does the insurance, and you're not talking here about 2 or 3 individuals. You're talking a couple hundreds of people who probably insured with you and they got damage. And how does the insurance company generate that kind of revenue to make all of these payments? In some cases, they may have to pay a couple $100,000, depending on what you insured for. And let me just throw in here, maybe let's say your house got damaged in insurance in a hurricane. Your house probably cost you about maybe $300,000 to build. It was completely damaged. You probably may get back about 3/4 of the actual cost. I mean, you may have to do that for probably, let's say, 60, 70 persons. We're talking here already.
Let's talk about more like 300 going people. Right. So I alluded to something earlier talking about under law, insurance companies are required to have reinsurance as a mitigating. So where you have a severe scenario of a major med, the reinsurance policy that you have, treaty. So for individuals we call it policy, for an insurance company it's called a treaty. And they may have one or several insurers on that treaty. Yes, it's all about spreading of risk. So an insurance company spreads the same risk that they take from you even further by having a reinsurance treaty, that in the event of we usually refer to catastrophe as in natural disasters, but in terms of health insurance we could call it a catastrophe also.
Yes.
Because you have a catastrophe event. Their policy will go up to a certain level as what the insurance company pays. The rest of it will come from the reinsurers. But remember, the company has to pay the reinsurers. Yes. So you may feel that what you're paying is a lot, but that money has to go and split in quite a lot of ways. That's why it's the concept of insurance is really about pooling of resources, and it's predicated on not everyone at the same time will claim to a certain degree. So it's about. So
it gives you a little.
It's about chances in that regard. Frequency and severity, and those are core principles of how you look at it. And when you do your analysis in the year, and if the ratio of your claims experience is too high, then the first thing you do, which, as I said, naturally people's as people get older, their premiums go up a bit. But also, if you are consistently and habitually claiming every month, then your premiums will go up much more than somebody who simply gets an attritional rise in premiums because of the age. Yes?
So it's sort of similar to let's say vehicle insurance. If you keep bouncing and you always have to go claiming, then your premium would.
Yes, it's a similar concept. It's a similar concept. So the thing that a lot of people don't understand, I think we've become too transactional with insurance, because it's there. Yes, they say I have to get it, so we're not thinking about what's behind it. It costs a lot of money to set up an insurance company. It costs a lot of money to pay an actuary, and I'm not talking about a few $100s. I'm talking about a few thousand US to create a product. Yes, for which you have to administer it, and every component of it must be adhered to in order for it to be effective. Unfortunately, as human beings, we find incredible ways of justifying what we think we should get. Yes. And I always use this example. When we think we're hard done by, we scream for justice. When it's on the other foot, what we crave for, please, mercy.
Actually, we need to take a break, because that was my next set of questions that's going to ask. So, folks, we're going to take our break. We'll be back in just a moment. Do stay with us.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. protection from all perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now! We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street opposite the Grenville Bus Terminal, and at Hillsborough, Carriacou. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
Distributed by Calico Trading, Frequency St. George's, telephone number 439-9239. The most anticipated family fun-filled event on the GBN calendar is back. The Maggie King of the Grill. Join us on June 4th at Montrouge. Be part of the culinary masterpiece as the best grillers on island compete for the coveted title of the Maggie King of the Grill. Think you have what it takes? Be part of the action. June 4th. Book your spot. If not, step away from the grill if you can't handle the heat. Maggie King of the Grill is sponsored by Maggie, Matuk's Barbecue Sauce, Rubis, Dasani Water, Calico Shopping Center, Duty Free Caribbean, and Siesta Hotel.
When a loved one passes on, we all need the comfort, support, and guidance of a trusted friend. You can rely on LaCour Brothers Funeral Home. We provide a personalized professional service that exceeds all expectations. Our dedicated staff responds to your every need with the greatest detail, ensuring affordability with a variety of options. Our upgraded state-of-the-art facilities, spacious air-conditioned chapel with live internet streaming, a modern, environmentally safe crematorium, the only of its kind on island, private viewing spaces, large on-site repast center, a modern transportation fleet. Join our burial society today and make personalized arrangements for that final moment. As you prepare to enter your loved one into eternal rest, visit or call LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and select a package that brings added comfort to the entire family. LaCour Brothers Funeral Home and Burial Society, continuing a tradition of excellence.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Doctor and Call, but this evening we're talking health insurance, a very, very important part of course, protecting your health and ensuring that in event something happens or when something happens, because as Mr. John said, as we get older, we become, the risk of getting ill and all of these things, they increase, and so it's important that you put things in place so that in event something goes really wrong or something goes bad, you do have an opportunity to look after yourselves. Mr. John, we were talking a bit about the payments and so on, and how does an insurance company generate that kind of money to pay someone, for example. Yes, it's probably insured with you, and you made a point about what is in the policy, but that's very important. So someone gets into an accident and probably comes out from the accident. They did not die, but they're unable to work. They're unable to walk. They probably lost a leg or probably lost both legs, and so they're practically in a state where they do not have the ability to gain an income through employment. That person probably was insured, and so the company now has to generate that money to pay that person. Let's talk a little bit about things like that. How really go into some details. Does the insurance company invest so that when that time comes, you can generate that revenue to make the payments to people?
Yeah. So something that you should know about insurance companies, according to our laws, insurance companies have to keep assets to match liabilities 100%.
Okay.
So that means if you have $5 of liabilities, you have to have $5 and show, meaning real life,
yes,
that those assets are there to match it. Now, the assets in our law is what you call prescribed assets. So our regulators have a list of items that you can put money into in terms of pledge to the regulator, as in those assets to cover the liabilities. But on another note, a very important part of the insurance business is investment. A lot of the times, just premium incomes alone, what we would refer to as underwriting profits, are not enough to sustain a company. So insurance companies are perhaps among the biggest investors in the world in various things, from government bonds to equities to you name it. Yes? And it's an important part of being a financial organization. We are actually allowed to do that, and it's indeed significant because it balances up some of those investments, some of those costs that we have to bear over time. I was talking earlier on the difference between us and banks. There's only one industry in the world where you can pay so much in terms of, if you add up all the premiums that you pay compared to what you get in back.
Right.
And that's insurance products. Generally, there's no other. So I would always sing the praise of insurance because I can see and I've seen what it does for people who have been in some strife, health insurance or otherwise. It is important that people could feel that sense of security that, look, I am not going to be ruined by the situation. And believe me, medical bills can ruin.
Oh yes, healthcare is very, very expensive.
And that's this thing that I want to bring us to, Godfrey. We're in a situation now where healthcare is very expensive. And we are at the point, I believe, in Grenada and the Eastern Caribbean where could the premiums that we pay now sustain, the cost of it? I believe that is why the talk of national health is important. And, I would want us to spend a little time on just talking a bit about it.
Sure.
It is predicated on the fact that everybody contributes. So in short, the pool becomes much wider. There are exceptions, obviously, for those who have, who are the lowest ebb of society and are not able to care for themselves, that social responsibilities then ours to make sure that we take care of our own. But having said that, I believe we may get to a point where your personal insurance may become the major med part. And if we are successful in executing national health, that the base part of it may be covered there. Or your private insurance might top up scenarios, until it's to give an example, before we used to have what we call workman compensation as a product that is sold in the insurance industry, and then NIS came into it, and they literally took that workman's compensation part of it, as part of your benefits, and therefore the coverage changed to what you call employer's liability. so that employers now buy insurance in the event that their workers become injured. That is above that of which national insurance, and they work together, so that your benefit from national insurance will reach so much, and essentially the employer's liability.
Yes,
that's the
take it
intent.
up.
There are some caveats to it, in that you have to prove that the employer was negligent. Yes, in the actions that caused
Your injury.
your scenario. Yes, but in short, investments are very important to insurance companies. It is something that is actively done. It doesn't matter what size you are, or if you operate regionally, single island. It is a very important component of it. And health insurance is something that I think we have to take a very serious approach to figure out, because we're a small country. We have to figure it out. Yes, and there has to be an understanding that is something that we all have to bear. We go abroad and we boast, oh, those hospitals are so nice and the care so, but the citizenry are paying a lot, quite a lot, to have that privilege. So, in short, we can't expect to get something for nothing at all. And that is something that we would have to deal with as a society.
Okay, lovely. Now, Mr. John, as it relates to the Major Med, I just want you to just break it down a little bit. When we speak of Major Med, let's just show the people,
Heart attack.
Heart attack, okay.
Kidney disease, that sort of thing. Yes.
Right.
A ruptured appendix.
Right.
You have to go under the knife.
Right.
For something or the other. That is usually what is considered major medical. Now, it's funny, but in Canada, who has a very robust, perhaps one of the most advanced insurance societies in the world, for that matter, in terms of both their laws and the products that are offered, a lot of companies are going into what you call is a catastrophic care insurance. So what they're saying in short, you see this insurance that are going to the doctor for the cold, don't worry about that. I should be able to push my hand in my pocket just as I would push my hand to go and have a beer on Friday. Yes?
Well, not a beer, a few.
A few, and buy wrongs. I should have to bear that responsibility for myself. But in the event of a major and some catastrophic care, yes, I need something in place. And a few companies and people are opting for that type. And it usually comes in two forms. One, long-term care, or a single payment to deal with whatever that medical emergency you may have at the time. Yes? And they opt for it. Some companies would have a little combination of both, but that is in terms of the pinnacle of what you find going on. You have those international products where people pay thousands of dollars for that care per year, and US at that, because they have an understanding that, listen, we could joke about it, and they probably have the money to do it. I'm not suggesting that in any way that the general population have that type of money, but I'm telling you the lens that advanced societies go towards, and what they consider the importance of health insurance, and what they are willing to pay for it. And it's not just affordability, because remember, when you sit with a person in an application, and you're trying to determine and assess, okay, could you afford this? People would tell you all sorts of things about what their expenses are. But we never see how much we spend on entertainment, do we?
No. That's not that's not your fear. That's not your fear.
we don't quantify.
You don't need to know that.
Which is also a great contributor in a lot of cases. Our eating habits.
Oh yes.
Or what we call having fun is detrimental to our situation.
You know, Kenny. In preparing for this program, I was doing some reading, about the importance of health insurance, and there's something I came across that I find very interesting, and I want to share it with you and our listeners and viewers, and I would like you to comment on it.
Sure.
Now, one of the it says another reason it's important to have health insurance is that it makes it easier for you to keep from getting sick in the first place. Having health insurance makes it easier for you to access, that is, find and pay for routine and preventative health care.
That's right.
And they give you a couple examples: annual checkups, vaccination, flu shots, etc., blood tests and lab work, scans and screenings. These all play a role in keeping you healthy and diagnosing any illness you might have as soon as possible.
That concept is so fundamental and crucial to our existence as human beings. Take in front. We must understand that to catch a cancerous situation early is not only a difference between life and death, but ultimately it goes beyond that. What does your family go through?
Oh, yes.
Watching you go through that process. Your emotional state and your emotional well-being, together with that of your family, it devastates you. Yes? So preventative care is perhaps one of the things that most insurance companies say. And I think that quite a few of the products allow that. Yes? Now, it doesn't mean you're going to have a CT scan every year when nothing's wrong with you.
Right.
But from your basic checkup, you are going to know what is your status, what is deteriorating, and what you can do to change it at present. I always say, when I learned this about, I've taken my checkups myself, and a doctor once described to me, look, there are 3 stages that we go through as human beings. When a doctor say, you know what, let's do preventative care.
Very important.
That's the preferred action. It means that you're regular and you see signs. When they say to you, then we can do a controlled scenario or manage it. It means that you're there already with the ailment, but they can help manage.
Yeah.
Again,
Prevent it from escalating.
right, further or quicker. But if they tell you, well, we can try and see if we make you comfortable,
Yes.
it means that you have already passed that threshold of being able to prevent, being able to manage it, and it's time. And then some of us blame the doctors. Oh, you're not gonna know, but you knew 10 years before that you were on the cusp of contracting diabetes. But whenever we hear, and this is true in our society, whenever we hear this, well, I ain't diabetic yet, we're on the cusp. Really and truly, when you're on the cusp, you're right there.
Yeah.
You're right there. So that is a good time to start medicating, start changing your lifestyle, look at what you eat, your intakes. What they say, after 40 we spend the rest of our lives eating ourselves to death. Because we could afford more. At that age you are a little more comfortable in terms of your economics and so on and so on. And bad habits. So preventative care, fundamental. Yes. And people might say, well then, if I'm doing that, then why have the insurance for? Hello. It's part of the scenario of taking care of yourself. And let's just look at it that way.
But there's always the unexpected.
Oh, yes. There are things that are hereditary. There are things that you may have been exposed to in your youth, that all of a sudden your situation, it stayed in your system and created some circumstance that may cause you now smoke inhalation. we don't have as many, well, I hope that we don't have as many people smoking cigarettes as before. At least I don't see it. I could be wrong. But back in the day, when I was young, every adult, it seemed like to be an adult, you must be smoking a cigarette.
You know, I had that discussion with, I think, was it Dr. Nixon some time ago, that, you know, when you saw someone drinking alcohol or smoking a cigarette, as young boys, you feel if you know, go in a corner and you pull a cigarette, that make you a big man, because that was a big people thing.
That's right, psychologically. So we have to redefine psychological, cultural psychology. What makes us a man or woman? Is it that we can drink and smoke as much as we want and do anything? But then, when the ailments come, we are looking to God for mercy. God, please help me get you. But it's on the back of the pack.
Yeah, like all of the Paulkins, you're praying like 10 pundits.
Yes, yes, in every religion, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's something that I don't think, Godfrey, if we don't do anything else, and we can reach people to say, look, take care of yourself. Do your annual checks.
No, it's very, very, very important that people understand that, you know, and do your checks and all of that. But, you know, from what I shared earlier, it took me back to one of the things you mentioned, the base plan. So things like what is mentioned here in preventing illness, does the base plan cover these things, like your annual checkups and
most
like that?
I shouldn't say most. It depends on your policy, but I would think it would be a good thing that most companies would want to give as a benefit in their policies.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. So
because you see the thinking behind it, if you think down the road, part of being an insurer and essentially a risk management expert, you know, if you're an underwriter, it's not just what's now, it's what's going to happen down the road. And so you're anticipating, okay, you know, I have seen cases where people write applications and they say, smoker? No. And everything is no down the line.
Yes.
A couple of years later, they may have lapsed their policy and they have to do another document to reinstate it. And you're asking them that, well, I start smoking, you know, and it's not a good thing when you do not present facts that are material. They work against you.
Well, let me tell you something. If you look here, this is my next question. You see what I wrote here?
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask you, if someone comes to you to do a policy, in this case health, and let's say, for example, that person understands, well, look, and they know, well, I take, you know, medication for hypertension. Yes, you probably have your pressure under control because you're taking your medication, so you don't have problem with hypertension. And you go to health insurance, the insurance asks you, are you hypertensive? And you say no. A couple of years down the line, for whatever reason, you get a spike, you fall down. The insurance company then learns that, but wait, that person was hypertensive. Some years ago, they've been taking medication. What happens there? Are there?
So let me give you a little insight of what happens in both medical underwriting and claims adjudication. The body doesn't lie.
Right.
Yes? So if we're diabetic and we're taking home remedies to suppress the sugar level, blood sugar level, that is not the only factor that tells you that you're diabetic.
Right.
Right? Insurance companies, by virtue of what you're asking your application stage, you give them permission, and that question is there. Otherwise, if you don't answer it, if you do not tick, if you don't sign on that, you're not going to get the insurance. A declaration which allows them to say, I can go back and check. There's certain things like hypertension doesn't just come on like that. Diabetes doesn't just, and there's so many ailments that it doesn't just happen overnight. So it's something that you call a pre-existing condition. I would advise you upfront, say what it is. And if you accept it, and a lot of people do it to say, okay, well, if I say that, my premiums go be a little less. And when you think of the little less that it is, it's not worth it. That's the point. Yes, it is better to be upfront. And if an underwriter takes you, then you have a chance. So you are going to not say that I have a pre-existing condition, and perhaps your premium might go up by $25. But a claim comes about and they discover that you have a pre-existing condition and they deny the claim. Because it can happen.
Right. But so my next question is, in a case like this, you were not upfront with all the information. Right. You get the insurance, you've been paying the premiums. So let's say you paid premiums for 5-6 years, right, and then something happened. You make a claim and the insurance company learns, well, you had that, the claim is denied. What happens to that monies that that individual has been paying?
So there's a contestability period. So 5 years, 6 years is kind of a long time for you to be paying something consistently, and then all of a sudden the insurance company say, yeah, you have a pre-existing condition after 5 years. I don't want to speak out of turn to say what is the period. Every policy again has it, but 5 years is a long time. I would say 2 or 3 maximum, perhaps. Yes. Don't quote me on it. You have to find out what your policy, what is a contestability period that you have. In fact, in most cases where that case exists, within a few months, literally, because they came to get the insurance because they knew they had an ailment. And therefore, all of a sudden, I need a health insurance because I know, my prognosis is that I have this condition. So within months, the insurance company could say, you know what? Look back your premiums.
Okay. So yes, you can get your premium back.
They say.
Right. What if we have a situation where, so I have health insurance, I'm paying, so I don't usually claim because my issues are not anything I cannot probably handle, you know, from salaries or from whatever monies and so on. I'm thinking, well, if perchance something major happens, then I can. But something major does happen, but that person does not survive. Well, does the family or so?
Well, you see, health insurance is of the nature that more than likely claims would be made around the time that you are sick. Yes, and even if you had a major incident and you don't survive it, there will be a bill.
Right.
And again, it depends on whether your policy does have some life insurance, health insurance, policies have a small death final expense benefit attached to it. But generally, I think that you would have claims arising out of it. That even if you don't survive, it cannot pay for everything because you're not surviving, and therefore the insurance comes to an end.
Yes. I was just thinking in terms of someone been paying their premiums for many years, and and
again, if you go back to what I said, it's an annual policy. So when that year is done, they look at your history, but that year is over.
Okay. So you're covered for that year.
You're covered for that year. Yes.
In case something happens.
Different to long-term insurance, which is life insurance.
Okay.
It's considered, health insurance is considered what you call short-term insurance. It is some general insurance companies do sell health insurance on that license. Most do it on the life side simply because what it takes to acquire it, the underwriting that is necessary, is similar to that of a life insurance because you do medicals, etc., etc. And so that mechanism is already in part of the administration workflows and so on, and the underwriting aspects that are more familiar. So that's where it may be placed.
Okay, wonderful. Let's take our final commercial break. When we come back, I have a couple more questions, and then we'll open our telephone lines. Our viewers, listeners may have some questions they may want to ask. So we'll be back in just a moment, folks. Do stay with us.
When you need your prescription filled or you require non-prescribed medication, supplements, or all your personal needs, visit Gittins Healthcare at locations on Wall Street, Grandans, Victoria Street, Granville, and Central Deputy Street, Wall. Gittins Healthcare aims to provide an exceptional personalized pharmacy experience. Additionally, children under 5 and adults 55 years and over will enjoy 10% discount on purchases of $20 and over on prescription medication. Stop settling for less. Visit Gittins Healthcare, where your health is our priority.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family, yes we do at every opportunity.
Antilian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The most anticipated family fun-filled event on the GBN calendar is back. The Maggie King of the Grill. Join us on June 4th at Montrouge. Be part of the culinary masterpiece as the best grillers on island compete for the coveted title of the Maggie King of the Grill. Think you have what it takes? Be part of the action. June 4th. Book your spot. If not, step away from the grill if you can't handle the heat. Maggie King of the Grill is sponsored by Maggie, Matuk's Barbecue Sauce, Rubis, Dasani Water, Calico Shopping Center, Duty Free Caribbean, and Siesta Hotel.
If there was ever a time to keep and stay healthy, it's now! We at Hills and Valley are here to help you take deliberate steps to maintain your health. We stayed true to maintaining the most comprehensive rates while stocking the widest range of medicines and health devices, including personal protective equipment. There are so many benefits shopping with us. You get great savings through discounts for senior citizens and reward cards for loyal customers. Ask about owning yours today. Visit us at Halifax and Grenville Street, St. George, Jubilee Street, Upmanal, and at Hillsborough, Carrico. Our wholesale distribution on Halifax Street also stocks the widest range of pharmaceuticals. We are with you on the hills and in the valleys. We are Hills and Valley Pharmacy.
Here is a little known fact. There is only one place in Grenada that you can get an MRI scan done. That place is Spicile Imaging Center. Yes, Grenada, that's the truth. Other centers could offer you other scans, but Spicile Imaging provides an authentic MRI scan. Here's another little known fact. Spicile Imaging has 3 centers. We operate at Grenville, the Carnage, and at the Ocean House, Grandlands. We provide the widest range of laboratory tests and services. CT scans, x-rays, mammograms, ultrasounds, and a host of other services. We are fully staffed by a team of family doctors and specialists. Call us today at 444-7679. or 406-1500, or visit any of our 3 locations. Spicile Imaging, from seeing the doctor to getting lab tests, scans, and pharmacy services. We are here to take care of you.
Welcome back, everyone. Doctor and Call, and folks, our telephone line is open. The number is 435-2041. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to take them, and of course, Mr. John will try to provide you with the necessary answers. Mr. John, we have a couple questions and comments on our WhatsApp platform. Let me just take this first one. Good night. What if you find out that you are hypertensive after you got the insurance? What should you do? Do you have to inform the insurance company? I think that's a wonderful question.
I think it's always wise to keep your provider, up to date with your condition. It would be easy enough to find out whether or not you have been a sufferer, because if there's a doctor that you regularly see, and your APS, you go back and the investigation show there was no sign of it, then I don't really see the problem. That should not. You should not be considered to be making a false declaration. Quite a few people are not aware that they have that condition simply because they don't check often enough.
Right.
If you check often enough, you would find signs. Hypertension doesn't just come on like that. You would have stages, and even your own home checks. The little portable machines that we do. If you go for an annual checkup and the doctor say it's slightly elevated, then I think as part of your own self-caring situation, you should test your blood pressure every now and then.
Check it.
And if you find that the doc says, okay, I'm still within range, but if you find it consistently creeping up, then you may be, it's wise to go see the doctor and say, listen, I've been doing my checks. We have to take care of ourselves.
Of course we have.
And it's part of our responsibility to ourselves to look out for things. We can't just simply go along. I mean, God knows that, our eating habits are so severe, Mine and your age, we would remember that we didn't used to buy so much meat in the supermarket.
No, we had
growing up.
We had the what we call now the yardies.
Exactly, and we ate a lot more fresh because there wasn't that much canned stuff around, and if you look at the back of some of those canned things. Anytime the ingredients go over 4 ingredients, it's never just 4 and then it goes to 5 and 6. It's probably 8.
Yeah,
it's artificial stuff.
Dr. Nixon always says when you look at these labels, look first for the sodium content, and you'd realize that in almost every one of them, sodium has the highest number there. And even so, when we consume that, we still add a little more.
Understand what your caloric intake should be.
Yes.
And we all different. We all have different metabolic systems. So you have to know yourself. Like you, I was an athlete. I love to run. And I take a great pride in being able to still do a little thing.
Right.
But you have to get to know your body, and it's truth be told, as you get older, your metabolism slows down. Some people are just lucky; they have vampire genes, but others are not. Ladies have their particular, some issues, hormonal issues, etc. as well.
Yes.
Once they are approaching that menopausal scenario, no one is the same. So you have to get to know yourself, and nobody should know you better than you, essentially.
Definitely. So let's go to the telephone. We have a caller on the line. Doctor and Cole, good evening.
Yeah, good afternoon. I know your program is about doctor and call. I just want to know, if you take out an insurance policy on yourself and unfortunately you met in an accident, what I would like to know is the insurance company, depends on your injuries you incur, is the insurance company responsible or could you claim based on the injuries you incur, or the insurance company can tell you, sorry, because of certain issues, we cannot pay you. I would like to know what is the situation, because I have a reason for asking that question, so I'd just like to know that, and then I'll give my reason for calling.
Okay, sure.
So I would like to know if the insurance is liable to pay if you meet an injury during the time you have the insurance policy.
Okay, caller. Yeah, Mr. John.
Well, first of all, the specific injury. If you're in a car accident, for example, and you're a passenger, then usually it's a motor car insurance policy that would pay. If, however, it is not it's not a car insurance and you have health insurance, then it is possible that you could claim. I do not know the tenets of your specific policy. It's difficult to say sweepingly that this is so. It has to be a lot more specific, and I would not encourage anybody to basically see their business. Yes, right. Because I really don't know what that particular policy that you have say. And that is what I encourage everybody to do. You must read your policies, and that is one of the biggest weaknesses that we have, is that we don't pay attention and ask. And even if you don't have a claim and you read and you don't understand something, call your company, ask them what does that mean. Yes, so I'm afraid I may not be giving the caller that much comfort, but it's difficult to just see like that whether the insurance company should pay or not, because I really don't know what's within their policy document.
Okay, can I make my statement as the reason why I'm calling? All I know is the doctor call.
Yeah, sure, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Right. Now, if you insure an item like a boat, and unfortunately certain things happen and the boat end up sinking, is the insurance liable to pay for your losses? Because they have certain things they come along and tell you about perils of the sea. And I had a situation where when they had COVID and they closed down the country for over 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever time, I did not have the privilege to go and look after my boat, and the boat sank, and I'm insured with Antillia. And when I go to put in the claim, they send somebody to do assessment, and they did the assessment. I showed them, I was there, we looked through all what happened, all what they said to me is better to float the boat than leave it under the water. I float the boat, and up to today they refused to pay me with the claim I put in. So I want to know, what was I paying the insurance? Is it when I'm out to sea and the boat sink out in the ocean and you can retrieve it? Or is it even though you're on dock and something went wrong out of your control, and you paying the insurance tell you they're not responsible? I would like to know what the answer for that is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Okay, I don't know. Again, you said earlier that a lot has to do with what is in the policy, and company and people need to pay attention to what is in the policy. Yeah. And if not, you might find yourself in a situation, because you're not familiar with what you bought, you could be in a situation where you find yourself not being, your claim not being honored.
Yeah. The circumstances under which the vessel sank. Yes. I mean, we're here to talk about doctor on call. Yeah, this is marine insurance, which is a whole different kettle of fish. Yeah. I am not sure, and specifically I'm not familiar with the claim that you're speaking of, because I am with Antillian. So the circumstances on the I can look into it. Yes, and as much that is probably what I can see to it right now, because I really don't know the circumstances under which the claim was it denied? I'm not sure if it's denied, or was there certain things that had to be presented. I don't know.
Yeah, well, as you said, this is a matter that has to. It's marine. It's different. We talking health insurance, and so what I could advise the caller to do is to go into his insurance and have a discussion with his insurer,
the adjuster, and just on general insurance, which is where you find marine. Most companies would hire an adjuster. Mm-hmm. The claim is, and the adjuster's report forms a big part of what happens in terms of how the adjuster looks at the policy and look at the damage. For example, in property insurance, if you abandon your property, so you insure your property, but you're not nobody living in there, mm-hmm. there are clauses within that will say that you will not be indemnified should something happen, because the property is not occupied. Mm-hmm. So closing down the country in that regard, from his situation, was not the fault of the insurance company. So I really do not know the circumstances of which the claim was not paid. Mm-hmm. Yes, and so I can look into it, as I said, but I'm not familiar with the claim at all.
Right. Let's go back to the telephone. Mm-hmm. Dr. and Cole, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good morning. Afternoon.
Yes, good evening, caller.
I would like to get... hello, yeah. You hearing me?
Okay, so you need to turn down the volume of your radio, your TV, and listen to us on your telephone.
Yes, I hearing you.
Okay, so go ahead.
Yes, you hear me now, Godfrey?
Yes, I am. Mm-hmm.
Okay. As far as I understanding from what I hear in here, when a man want to buy an insurance policy, instead, I feel the first thing you should do, instead of going to the insurance, get an insurance broker and tell the insurance broker exactly what he wants. Because as far as I see what's going on, the insurance are tricky something to get somebody. So I feel the best thing to tell people, if you want to get an insurance policy, get an insurance broker. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, caller. Thank you very much indeed. Okay. All right. You want to respond to this?
No. I think it's always wise to get expert advice. Mm-hmm. I think it's always wise. Be it your insurer themselves. I think the insurance company has a duty to explain, especially if you're making requests, or if you prefer a broker, then the broker works for you. Mm-hmm. And therefore, the advice on it, yes, hinges on their expertise in the particular area.
But what you see, and I think there is something here that people need to understand. And the caller said that insurance is a tricky thing. Now, here is the point. What makes it tricky? Is it because you do not understand what you are getting into? Then why not ask questions? Why not find out what you want to purchase? Explain to it and have your insurer explain to you what you're getting into. So I think, folks, it's important that, look, you need to understand, and we've been talking about the importance of health insurance. In case something goes wrong, you will be in a position to take care of your medical bills or whatever it is. But in so doing, you have to understand what is involved, and it's similar to a lot of other insurance.
Every insurance.
If you, for example, you insure your house, and because of your carelessness, let's say you are going out and you left your stove on, or you forgot to turn off your stove and your house burned down. How is the insurance responsible for that?
Well, you see, the thing, Godfrey, the purpose of insurance and different policies a classic. I go back to moto simply because it's one that people seem to have more knowledge of, and they pay so much keen. It's amazing, but people are really keen on their motor insurance. We say we are comprehensively covered, but what does that mean? No insurance policy will be able to give you everything under the sun. So you have to inquire. I want to buy an insurance, but what does it cover? You have to understand the laws of the country, because there's some things that insurance can't do. For example, if you're driving down the road and all of a sudden your vehicle catch a fire, yes, and it's found due to maintenance, well, a policy can't cover that.
Right.
Yes. If it can't cover just the steering wheel or just the wheels, it covers the whole car. I remember after Ivan, some people asked, well, can I insure my roof alone? No, you can't, because the building is part of the roof, the roof is part of the building, sorry. Is insurance could be complicated? Yes. However, we can ask questions. That's why I said earlier, we treat it too transactionally. We do not look and ask, what is in the policy? What am I covered for? And marine in particular is one of those very technical. What did you buy? Yes? Did you buy an insurance that is one for loss of the vessel? Is it a total loss? Is it one that has incremental losses? Because there are all these little things that happen there. Is it that you were offered something and you may not have liked the offer that you got? So you might. Some people say they haven't been paid, but really and truly, we tend to price. I remember a few years ago, somebody came with a Datsun 120Y.
Yeah, that was a big thing.
Yeah, it was a big thing then. And one of our clients, was at fault in the accident. And the gentleman was determined then, because the adjuster, I think he said $5,000 or something like that. That's the value of the vehicle. He said, you can't tell me that. To me, that vehicle is worth $30,000. So what is the scale and the measurement? In the gentleman earlier on's case, the adjuster has a big deal to play in what happens to the claim ultimately. Yeah.
So it's important that people, I think that is probably the most important thing here.
Yeah.
People need to understand. You see, and I think the general feeling is, so I buy insurance, I'm paying insurance, so something happens and I must be paid. Yeah. Because I'm paying insurance.
Yeah. What are the rules surrounding it? If there's a rule that says that, look, on an approaching storm, you must pull your boat out, for example, there's a reason for it. You must have a hurricane plan. Yes? Are you parked on the road or are you parked in a garage? All these things affect how exposed. Do you have catastrophic cover on your motor? So do you have perils? Some people don't want it because it's expensive. Some people take it a lot of the times because the bank wants everything. And so they only buy, but soon as the interest in the bank, it goes to third party. So, insurance is one of those things, as I said very early. It's one of the first things that go, yes, when we have issues.
Right. We're getting close to wrap-up time, but I just want to emphasize, and I guess based on the callers, we sort of segued a bit into some other aspects of insurance. The ultimate thing here has to do with our health and the importance of having health insurance. And, in case of an emergency or in case something goes wrong, you're in a position to deal with it, and in a lot of cases, having health insurance could mean the difference between life and death.
In a lot of cases, yes. In a lot of cases. Something I want to point out, Godfrey, that we didn't touch on is there are some people who something happens and they jump on a plane and go to a doctor in a foreign country, and they make a call to the insurance company and say, okay, I'm in where and where, or they come back and they send bills. Remember, the jurisdiction for which you bought that is in Grenada generally. Those are the general policies that are bought. There are insurance policies that give you an international scenario, meaning you can go in and pop in anyway. Apart from which, there's a procedure. First of all, your doctor must give you a letter, and you must inform the insurance company beforehand. And if it is not something that could be taken care of in Grenada or the region, a lot of people go Trinidad, some go Barbados, etc., then there must be a case put to why are you going somewhere else if treatment could be sought regionally. When you don't get those permissions, there's always a fight. Yes? Because your expectation is to be paid the rates that's over there, and your policy may not have covered that. Yes? And what the policy covers, even though you go there, it still has to go back to the base of what it was intended for here in the first instance.
No, I think it's very important because even now here in Grenada, probably more than before, you go to see a medical practitioner, and one of the first questions you're asked is whether you have insurance. You know, because in some instances, some of the you may have to do maybe a little surgery, you know, and these things do cost money.
Well, you know, some insurers are hardly done by, because the price sometimes raises quite a bit once the person say yes.
Okay.
So, you know, at some point in time there has to be legislation to, you know, where you have to publish your rates and so on. And if national insurance does come by, you will be certain that would be enforced. Yes, because you can't anti-select. And you ought not to anti-select, and that is a big issue that you have in the health insurance scenario. That once the price changes significantly at times,
right, and then that can be to the disadvantage of the patient.
Well, you see, at the time the person doesn't look at it that way, but you see what happens at the end of the year when you're going through a new underwriting cycle, and say, okay, but look at your experience. And a lot of people are sometimes shocked to know that the experience, i.e. how much you pay versus how much you use, is brought up. Yes? And I'm not talking about major medical here now.
You're talking about base.
You're talking about base.
Okay. So, Mr. John, we're practically out of time, but what I would like you to do just before we wrap is just to quickly summarize the importance of health insurance.
I would say, you know, as we progress as a society, I believe we have to have a holistic approach to how we take care of ourselves, and look at insurance as something that adds to the list of mitigating circumstances for health, because after all, that is what it's about. It is not just, oh, I have an insurance, but it's my health, it's my life, and we should take care of ourselves, and health insurance is one of those items that we can put on the list as you know, fundamental to preventing financial ruin if we are in a situation. But I should premise that we have to disclose, be upfront. It is what it is. It is easy, so easy if you're not disclosing to find out, because your blood don't lie. You know, your test, your system, you know, whatever checks that you get, either your endocrine system or, you know, there are checks that can be done to discover, okay, because the bodies are such that things don't just suddenly come along outside of an event. a massive heart attack because all of a sudden, a certain stressful period, a car accident, something like that. The body doesn't just develop ailments just like that. They happen over time, and if untreated, if we have allergies. Some people develop thyroid problems, but it's not something that just simply 1 minute it wasn't there, next minute it was there. It creeps up and unfortunately there's some that doesn't matter what you do, it seals our faith.
Yeah.
We can all but take care of ourselves.
Yes, indeed. Kennie, I want to thank you so very much for accepting the invitation to be here to share with us on the importance of health insurance, and I trust that not too long from now you can be back, because information like that, I think people need to be constantly reminded of how these things work, so that they don't find themselves in situations that they were not anticipating. We heard a caller said, unfortunately, insurance is a tricky thing, and clearly one can deduce from that it's a case where people really don't understand and they don't pay attention to what really is as compared to what they expect. So with expectations, it doesn't just happen like that, but there are things that has to happen. So folks, I just want to impress upon you the importance of health insurance. Talk to your insurer or your company. Let them explain to you what is involved. I mean, there are a lot of questions to ask. Talk to them, find out, and if you're not satisfied with the answers, then you have the right to seek whatever, but you have a responsibility to ensure that you do what you can to protect yourselves now and in the future. So please, folks, do what you need to do. Mr. John, thank you once again. It was indeed a pleasure chatting with you.
It was my welcome. I'm always happy to chat with you and the general public, sharing some knowledge in a general way. Insurance is a huge topic.
It is.
I'm glad that we have one that we homing into, because we can spend a week talking about just one type of insurance. It's good for the public to know that where it started, how it started, what it generally contains. Outside of that, as I said, each company has a right to design its product the way it feels fit, and what it's a business also, and be it a bank, insurance companies, they're businesses. And whether we like it or not, that is the reality. And they will try to make profits. When something is not worth it, the companies might say, I'm not doing this anymore.
Right. So, as I said, I hope not too long from now we can have you back to continue, these discussions, and probably delve into some more things, so that we all can have a better understanding of the importance of health insurance. Thank you very much, folks. We thank you for staying with us. Tomorrow I'll be back. Of course, we join JC on GBN television for our election watch as time gets closer. And of course, don't forget, on Thursday we have a special edition of Release It. Mr. William Joseph will be joining us to look at the present political climate as it relates to preparation for elections on June 23rd. Tomorrow, nomination day, another big day, and of course we know in recent times that has become a big thing, with all the fanfare and all of that. So we need to pay attention to all that's happening and think carefully, make the right decision. Thank you very much, and do have a good night. All the best.